Welcome to our session today. We're super excited to have y'all to talk about the real-time visibility into the cost of work. We'll introduce ourselves in just a moment, but of course my boss makes me talk a little bit about who we are as an organization. So we are Percipio. We are an Atlassian Platinum Solutions partner, and as of Tuesday, we are the Agile at Scale Solutions Partner of the Year for Atlassian for 2023. So super excited to announce that and all of that wonderful stuff. We're really excited about the content that we're going to bring to you today. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to get on the bandwagon. Just kidding. Who is this person right here? My name is Amanda Babb. I am a principal architect of enterprise agility at Percipio. I've been in the space for over 10 years, which I feel like ages me a little bit because my birthday is coming up on Sunday, so there is that. But what we're really excited to talk about today is, again, bringing tools and systems and people systems together. I'm joined on stage by the lovely Michiko. Why don't you say some things about yourself?
Hi, everybody. I am Michiko Quinones, and I have been doing, I'm a principal consultant, and I do Jira Align, but I also do enterprise architecture, trying to figure out how all of your systems can connect. And I've been doing this for about 20 years, speaking of dating yourself, but yeah, through a lot of different enterprise architecture tools, enterprise ERP tools, and now for the past about 10 years almost, Jira Align, so.
Yeah. So we might have one or two things to say today. Maybe three. Maybe three. So this is kind of a little bit of a poll. I know that the AV people always like me when I cover the mic. How many of y'all have had that moment when you're working on a product or a project or a release or something and you know something's going wrong? You know it in your gut, right? You're like, oh, I'm recognizing that something's wrong. Let's just do something totally different. Wild idea, folks. Why don't we just stop everything that we're doing and do something totally different, right? We panic and then we pivot. Well, what we want to do today is actually explain to you that that's probably not the right pattern of behavior that you've been following time and time again. So how are we going to actually take you from that to pivoting and persevering instead, or persevering instead? In the case of one of our clients, they went $10.5 million over budget on an initiative last year. When do you think they found out? At the end of the year, right? So if you're trying to make these rapid decisions, you're trying to figure out whether or not we continue to invest or reinvest or move things around in the organization to follow these outcomes, it becomes really important that we have near real-time data available to us from these disparate systems, right? That being said, we live this every single day, this fog of impending doom where everything is fine. There are 329 billion gigabytes of data created by humans every single day. But when our boss says, hey, how much are we spending on this, or are we on time or on budget? Hold on, let me find out. How many of y'all are still running spreadsheets? It's okay, you can raise your hand. This is a support group. It's okay.
It's fine.
One of the things that it's fine, it's totally fine. Even Atlassian just did a survey, right, where they found 70% of organizations are still running their strategy on spreadsheets. It's okay. It's okay. Let's get you out of that pattern. So one of the things that we think about at Percipio is that we have all of this stuff. We have all of these beautiful technology systems that we're using day in and day out. We have things in our organization that tell us about our strategy. What are our OKRs? What are our initiatives? What are the features that are associated with those things? We have our delivery systems like Jira. We have DevOps systems. We have quality metrics. We have this information available to us. We have our service organizations, our IT support, IT service management, cyber vulnerability and detection management, easy for me to say, that's supporting our products and our systems and those kinds of things. And last but not least, we have financial data. We wouldn't be in business if we didn't. Might even be in jail if we didn't have financial data. But that being said, these are not just technology systems in our organizations, are they? There are also people systems, right? We tend to silo these things off. We don't necessarily think about how an outcome-driven objective may impact something like our service desk. So we were sitting there one day, and I was like, Meech, can we do this? Do you think we could do this? Do you think we could connect these things?
Maybe. Yeah, let's try. Sure.
Why not? Probably. Might make sense. We can figure it out, right?
Yeah, you can figure it out. Yeah.
So what we're here to talk about today, more in depth, is how we're going to help you unleash your big dashboard energy. This is the swagger that you are going to have to be able to confidently make the right decisions for your business to get the right done right. If you've been by our booth, that's what our booth says. So anyway. So that being said, what are some of the wonderful benefits of your big dashboard energy? And these are your tangible business outcomes that you're going to realize as an organization bringing these complex technology and people systems together. Things like budget insights, work optimization, pivoting your people so that they can actually innovate as opposed to grinding through providing you a status report once a week. Being able to have better and more effective strategic decisions. How is all of this aggregating and rolling all the way up to our strategy? Being able to lean into operational agility, becoming a market leader, and then of course, mitigating any risk when the market shifts when we're not able to. Sounds pretty amazing, right? Yeah. Do you want to see it? Yeah? Yeah? All right. Okay. So this fun part is that we're at a technology conference, and we're asking you to use technology. So if I push the button. Ooh, there we go. All right. So what we have up here is an aggregation and concatenation of multiple systems coming together into a single objective pane of glass dashboard. Again, when we're thinking about strategy, what we want to think about is the way that we're bringing outcomes to our organization, not outputs. I don't care how many stories your teams are getting done. I don't care how many story points your teams are getting done. And I'm saying this as an Agilist for over 10 years, right? I don't care what their velocity is. What I care is how they're contributing value to the business to drive outcomes of our strategy. So at the top, we can flip back and forth between different outcomes based on the information that we have. In our upper left-hand corner where you see 86% complete, this is the overall aggregation of the execution data across multiple systems of all of the work that we're tying to various things like portfolio epics, initiatives, and those types of things. Right below that 101% utilized, this is actually real-time budget data, the actual cost to deliver against this objective based on the execution work that we have up there. In the middle, that big green 81%, that is actually the percentage of the overall key results against the objectives that we're driving at any given time. And then, of course, how many of y'all have an AI initiative right now of some sort? Yep, everybody raise your hand, right? Yeah. We do actually have some artificial intelligence reading things for us, such as large data sets to let us know what trends we've been seeing in things like work logged hours, budgets moving, and all of that, so that we don't have to, as humans, try and crunch all of this information together. It's just simply there for us and can give us additional information to make a better business decision. Down below, now we have the actual data coming in from an IT service management system showing us whether or not we're actually impacting our key results. In this case, what we're saying is we wanted to decrease that manual order adjustment. We're supposed to get from 25 to 10, and we're 87% complete on that particular key result. If we swap over to redesigning our processes, we still got a little bit of time to go on this one, right? We're only at 56% complete, where we started, where we're trying to get to. Now, question for y'all. If we're 86% complete of the execution work, we're at 101% utilized in terms of budget, we're 81% of our key results achieved, do we continue to drive this outcome for our business? This is not a trick question, because the answer is maybe, right? Maybe. Well, wouldn't it be great if we understood what's left, right? What's left to do that might be critical? So great. Let's take a look at our remaining work per feature that could be available to us. Let's look at the state or the status of that work to see if we've even started it, let alone have we decided to bring it into our queues and our backlog at any given time. If none of this is going to be value added, maybe we tell our teams, you know what? Pull this all out of your backlog. Let's go ahead and reprioritize for our next planning increment and bring something more exciting into the table or onto the table. We can even break down things like our Epic estimating spend, and all of these features are actually, or all of these items are all clickable, so we can drill all the way down to the story level if you wanted to. Please don't give that to your executives.
Yeah, it's not good.
And then last but not least, we're bringing in the help desk information to actually see trending-wise how all of those requests are coming in and whether those key results are being impacted by request type as well. So this is just one solution with one tool set to bring one set of chunks of information together to provide that near real-time visibility into the cost of work.
Okay, so the dashboard you just saw was actually about 5 different systems. So we connected Tempo into Jira, and then from Jira Align, which already has a connector into Jira. Sorry, I'm going to geek out just a little bit, okay? We're going to go a little geeky here. I just wanted to let you know what was all in that dashboard. It looks very simple. That's what you want your executives to see. You want them to focus on those metrics and make the decisions. They don't really need to see what's happening underneath. And I think a lot of times, this is what I've learned in my career, I've done the, oh, don't you want to see everything? And the answer is no, no. How do I get to the key metrics? So what we wanted to bring to you was the fact that it was multiple systems. It was Tempo, it was Jira Service Management. You saw those help desk numbers at the bottom. It was Jira Align objective and strategy data. So how do you connect that objective and strategy data all the way down to the Tempo dollars, how much we're spending now, today, how much money did people log against that objective today? And that's what we're showing on that dashboard. Our client's able to do this. How did they do that? Well, first, they did a couple different things, and we wanted to give you 3 ideas on how to get there. What they did was they spent a pretty good amount of time turning their strategy into data. So we mentioned that you might have a spreadsheet. Some of you have a strategic placemat. Some of you, I remember Northwestern Mutual, you all have a beautiful website with your objectives and key results. I remember saying that at the beginning, like, wait, you guys all have this? So it could be in your on your online, some board somewhere on a shared web page somewhere. How do you get that into data so that then you can connect that through the rest of the data? So you want to turn your strategy into data. And then you want to, and this was the other piece of learning. Sure, once we've done that, that's great. But then we found out, oh, I think we got to put some governance on some things here. So there is some people process, and we're going to talk about what our client did to do that. But the beauty of all that was once they got that stuff done, the automation is like you connect all these systems and you literally create a dashboard and you set it to refresh every night. And you're automating that feed. So let's talk about turning that strategy into data. There's a lot of ways you can do this. Our client decided to purchase Jira Align. And what Jira Align has is the objective and key result connection to work automatically, right? So that takes a lot of stress off of you. Doesn't mean it can't be done with other systems. You can do this in a variety of ways, and we have done it in a variety of ways. Jira Align was an accelerator for this client. Once they decided to get into Jira Align, they had to do a couple of things to govern the work, to make sure that that work was consistent, especially at the high levels. One of the things they decided was, as an organization, they were going to go from, I think it was 14 portfolios down to 1. That was a lot of work. That was really hard. But then they got everybody into one time cadence, and then they governed those objects. How did they govern the object? Well, the most important object is the one that connects everything. And most of us are doing some type of initiative or a portfolio epic, right? We've got something very big. And on that very big thing, there's strategy that comes in from top that says, this is why we're doing this very big thing. And then there's all the work underneath it that connects up to say, oh, here's all the things we're doing to accomplish that very big thing. They realized that their portfolio epic was something that was going to need to be consistent. So they put it on a path. They decided when they were going to actually start work. They decided who could actually touch the thing, who could change that key data. And then they decided how. So if you've ever done a SOX audit or any type of those audits, these are the key questions your auditors are going to ask you. Right? So that's what they basically did on this one governed object. Now that portfolio epic became something that all the systems could trust. How many of you have systems where you're like, yeah, that's what it says in the system, but let me go ask Sandra because I know that yesterday they changed that. Don't pay attention to that. Or it's only when you do this and that, right? I mean, I've been there, right? Well, what happens when you can trust the system and you can trust the key? All of that work they did on that key got it to be that trustable thing. So now what we're showing you is how all of this now started to aggregate. So we mentioned that there's the objective and key results at the top. That's strategy data. Okay, that's the why we're doing it, connects to the actual big connector thing that now everybody can trust. Underneath that connector thing, there's work stuff. So there's features, and that's all in one system. That's Jira Align. Let's go down to the next system, which is Jira. Fortunately, there's a nice connector that runs between the two and helps out. Then let's add time. Well, Tempo's got a really nice ability, very simple, to log your time against a story. So now somebody just goes in at the end of the day, I did 2 hours on this story. Wow. Because I've been in places where you just, you had to go to this time tracking system and that time tracking system, and you had to get, permission, and you couldn't connect the things. But now we've connected all these things. So what happens is our executives get this nice view. So they get the yellow, the portfolio epic. Here was the budget. That's what we expected. And then it's like, but wait, there's forecast. What do we think we're going to spend on this? Great, still a guess, but let's show it. But then we're getting into, okay, we're almost right before that PI. What is the cost of what people are estimating? So this is where Jira Align has an ability to give you spend per point. Again, it's roughly right, but it gives you some idea. And it's very interesting to watch how these numbers change. From the budget to the forecast to right before the PI, it is always a bump up. I've never seen it bump down. And then you're going to go and look at how the hours are rolling in. So it's all of the stuff we expected, plus the stuff that's actually happening. So now we said, okay, well, the problem is our key result doesn't have to do with the number of stories. Our execs aren't concerned with our predictability. They don't really understand velocity. They just want everybody to go faster. Okay, no, that's not what velocity is about. So what do they care about? Well, they care about that key result. Are we decreasing those call center calls? Is that really happening? So we thought to ourselves, how can we show that? Well, Jira Service Manager also allows you to pull that data out. And we got a nice connector from a company called AlphaServe, who's now part of Tempo. And we pulled that data out. So that was that stuff at the bottom. Oh, well, how are things going in our service management tool? You can do this with ServiceNow. You can do it with any service management tool. They all have APIs, and they all have ways to connect and pull out their data. But now what you're seeing is, okay, well, we thought those calls were going to go down. That's why we spent $1 million on an AI tool. Did it really go down? Right? That's what you're seeing on the dashboard. And now what's happening is that finance walked in the room. Finance is in the chat, y'all. And you know what finance gets in the chat? They start trolling, right? They're like, no, you can't do that. We're like, oh, finance is trolling us now. Well, wait a minute. Actually, finance was like, I think I can trust your portfolio, Epic. I looked at the stuff you're doing, looks good. Here's a proposition for you. We have an Oracle project number that we've been doing manually, and it is the same thing as that portfolio Epic. We just never could trust you before. That's why we did our own thing. But now that you're doing this, tell you what, can you roll up all that data you're getting and send it to us on a monthly basis? And we were like, yeah. So now we're connecting, which I'm sorry, I'm laughing because I'm like thinking of all the scars that I have around this. And so I'm like, we actually are taking this thing and we have got it rolling into Oracle on a monthly basis. So I don't know, that feels kind of monumental to me. I still am like a little bit like, wow, but I mean, I guess that's this age, right? Everything moves faster day by day. Yeah, so I'm gonna turn it back over to Minda to talk about our visibility.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So again, when we're talking about our dashboard, right, we're talking about we've got Align, we've got Jira Software, but this is the tech stack for this particular customer, right? What's interesting about them is they're using Asana to manage their portfolio Kanban, right? So that governed object that we're saying, is this a go, no-go decision before it ever hits an execution system of record? That was the first system that they were using. Again, we're getting that trusted key from Jira Align at the point in time they say, let's go for it. Go ahead and put all of that data onto that portfolio Epic, go put our budget information, all of that wonderful stuff. And then, of course, bringing all of these other systems together. Now, one of the things about this particular client is that you see that they've stuck Snowflake in there as well. As they say, the reason they stuck Snowflake in there is because they want to be able to serve themselves a data buffet. But in this particular case, serving themselves at the data buffet allows them to then have the flexibility of not just providing executive dashboards, but even team and program level organizations can also start to pull information together as well. So now they have this extremely robust data lake that they can then draw from to again make better decisions as to whether or not to pivot or persevere. This particular client leverages Power BI as their business intelligence platform, right? But for us, again, we're a little agnostic. We don't care. Sorry, Atlassian, plug your ears. We don't care because what we want to do is bring the data into the systems that already exist. So in this particular customer's case, the only additional spend from a technology perspective that they had to make, other than having us help them implement this, right, was just the Tempo suite of products. Because they already had everything else, right? So at the end of this, now they're getting cost transparency, they're getting those process. Michiko had mentioned they're doing this on a monthly basis. We said we can do it more often if you like. They said, nope, we're good. We don't want to know that much that quickly. Okay. But again, if other parts of the organization wanted to know faster, they can go to Snowflake, they can build their own dashboards, and they can get day over day or even week over week metrics and trends for themselves. Step 3, automate the feeds.
Yeah.
You want to talk about automating the feeds?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple key things, and I think I had mentioned AlphaServe before. And what you want to think about when you're doing this automation is that these systems are going to need to talk to each other. What are the in-between systems that will enable you to easily pull that data out and set it and forget it? So 2 things that really mattered in this architecture were the AlphaServe connector, which enabled us to pull data out of Jira. That Jira data model also allows you to pull the Tempo data. So once you kind of layer that stuff in data in Jira, you can pull all of that out, Tempo or even JSM data. You can do that as well. And then for Enterprise Insights, which is the EI up here, that is the data mart for Jira Align, and it has a full schema. It's got a schema that allows you to get your day-to-day, what's happening every day, but a lot of us are very invested in how did things change. So it also has a very large state change data mart that you can pull in and see how things change. And that's really good for audit. It's really good for traceability. But both of those things are clearly elaborated in the Enterprise Insights schema. And so you can get and take a look at that. Once we did that, once we were able to automate that, the third thing we did was in Power BI, you basically can refresh that data and it just kind of pulls it on a nightly basis. That's just a standard feature. And that's going to be a feature in any of your BI tools, Snowflake even, Databricks, anything's going to allow you to just, like I say, set it and forget it. But once you get all these things connected, it runs as you want, monthly or nightly, however you'd like that, yeah.
Awesome. So bringing this all together, right, again, it just depends on what your tech stack looks like. But as long as we can get at the data, we can go ahead and aggregate and concatenate it across your systems. That's relatively easy in quotation marks, right? The hardest part about this, and I see some skeptical looks on this, the hardest part actually about these things is getting your financials team to talk to your agility teams, to talk to your IT operations teams, to talk to your DevOps teams, and for all of them to ask why. Why are we doing it this way? Why is it running this way? Why are we not connecting these? Hey, not just the individual pieces of data, but when they need to flow through each individual piece of the process. When do those handoffs happen, and how is that actually going to then impact what we're going to go ahead and put into those data lakes and then onto those dashboards? So we always want to bring this back to the concept also of an evolving growth strategy. So this is Shannon Byrne-Susko, almost screwed up her name, that would have been tragic. She's a business coach and CEO out of British Columbia, Canada. And she basically says, if you don't have an evolving growth strategy, then you and your team are just driving around the block. You're doing something, maybe doing something well, but you're not going anywhere, right? So what we want to do is help empower you and give you a little bit of that swagger and that big dashboard energy to bring these disparate people and technology systems together so that you can continue to drive those tangible business outcomes, including things like innovation, next level artificial intelligence, and other objectives and outcomes you're trying to drive as your business.